Now, I love this exercise. So Stair, well, we start Stair walking, but it develops into Stair running. And this is something that Jill taught us with. We had our dancer with an insertional tendinopathy. And this was a fantastic exercise that we started with her, but now we roll it out and it's in everyone's programs, whether they're injured or not, as a great way to keep loading when they can't get into that studio. So we're hoping that quite a few of them do it on the holidays, and we had them all doing it when we were locked down. So the idea here is to step up and down the stairs, keeping your heel elevated. So that was key for the insertional. But it's lovely because it's kind of like an isometric the whole time. So they keep their heel elevated, and it takes we do some stepping to start with. So we probably start on about 90 beats a minute. We use the metronome, which really learnt from you, and we set we might do 2 flights for the first time. So to start with, it's quite proprioceptive, so they've got to make sure they keep their foot in alignment in a mediolateral direction, but also not allow that heel to move up and down. So they go up the stairs, and even right up on the flight, they even keep that heel raised. They don't drop down on the flight as well. And then so we do the stepping up, they turn around, keep the heels up, and then they'll step down again. That's quite challenging, keeping that heel up as they descend. Now, the only people I'd be cautious with is people with anterior knee pain, or if they've got a really angry sesamoid. So they're the 2 groups that I'm just a bit cautious with, and make sure that we don't flare those things up. So then we gradually build up the volume and the speed. So we, again, keeping the heel in that same position, so they maintain that regardless of the speed or volume. But to start with, I'll probably increase the volume to, they could do 8 flights of stairs, and then they get up to minutes. So we've got the metronome that has the timer as well.
Great.
So we progressively build up the volume by increasing the time that they're doing it. But we don't, unlike some rehab where you just do volume and then you put the speed in last, I think we actually increase the speed as soon as they get the control. So their form or their technique of doing it informs what speed you have. So as soon as they can do it with good technique and good form, then we'll up the speed, to 100, 110, 120. The goal would be, so we've had dancers and athletes get up to 170, which happens to be a really fast sprinting rate. So it's great for runners.
It is.
And our guys can get up to that as well. Again, we've still got the heel not moving very far, and we've had our rehabbers get up to 20 minutes, which is a massive workout. But generally, so that would be for someone who's off and can't do anything else, and it's a great way to get some fantastic exercise capacity into them. But I think 10 minutes would be an ideal goal, and even for a runner to get back on the track, I usually aim for at least 150 beats a minute. So we do that with the heel in that same position, and they go from more of a stepping action to more of a jogging action. And then once they've progressed that, and they've, with the tendinopathy, you're always checking that next morning symptom to make sure they're coping, and you'd probably give them a couple of days between each progression. But once you get up and you've ticked all those progressions off, then we'd add in some heel drop. So as they're going up and down, they can start to get a bit more dorsiflexion. And then by the end of, more and more dorsiflexion until they're doing a really normal running action. Nice. And we might even add in some bounding up the steps for a bit of that plyometric work. How do you use this?
I love this. I use it tons. So when you think about the Achilles, it really can be a condition of the lifespan. So we can see it in young athletic people, but we can see it in older people because you need to use your tendon like a spring throughout your life. So it's one of our tendons that we do see such a heterogeneous presentation. So the reason why I love this is it's such a functional way of retraining someone's spring. People need to be able to go up and down stairs, step off curbs. So even in your older patients, stair climbs are fantastic. So I'm the same, we start heel off nice and slow. This is also my go-to coming back from a peritendon because it's limited range. And the thing that's great is that it retrains ground strike in a really functional position for our runners. And so if you have a runner that got a peritendon issue, they actually need to improve their ability to ground strike and hold repeatedly and not drop. So you need to improve endurance, but in quite a specific way. And often that's the deficit that hasn't been addressed in their program. So yeah, we'll use this for functional endurance, and then we'll use it as a spring type exercise, getting them running up and down stairs. I might get them, bounding up 2 at a time, 3 if they've got really long legs, but always down 1 just for safety. And the tricky ones are the athletes with really big feet coming down to keep their heel off. So you've got to watch some of those. But yeah, no, it's a fantastic functional exercise that you can apply to lots of different people, I think. So
we were surprised because that I was a bit nervous about giving it to perhaps the unstable subtalar joint or someone with some synovitis through their FHL. But incidentally, the dancer who had the insertional Achilles tendinopathy had coexisting FHL and subtalar joint instability as well, and she coped perfectly well. Brilliant. So then we started to try it with a few of the ankle injuries, and everyone we've tried it with all our ankle rehabs, all our dancers, whether they're injured or uninjured. And as I said, the only problems we've had are with people with a bit of anterior knee pain, or and I just haven't even gone there with any sesamoid injuries. So everyone's tolerated it really well. We've had no complications, and I think it's just a fantastic way to stabilise that joint if you build it up progressively and sensibly. Yep. And so our guys will use that as a way to, say if they've got a little lull in they're offloaded a little bit, so that'll be their way of sort of keeping that load and maintaining that load throughout their weeks or months. And certainly with holidays, this is a great way to keep their load going, because they want to rest from ballet, but they need to keep something so that they don't come back and flare up either the FHL or Achilles. And
I use, the data from your guys to really challenge all my other athletes, especially the footballers. Well, the dancers can do 20 minutes. It doesn't matter, there might have been one person one time.
They're huffing and puffing. So
no, it's great for cardiovascular.
Great cardio workout. And I think the importance of cardio when they're in a long rehab is that they get that endorphin rush, which they haven't got because they're not on stage and not doing their usual activity. So it's really crucial in a rehab, especially those long ones, that they get some kind of activity that really gets them to work hard, that doesn't negatively affect their joint or Achilles.
And so what I might do with these early on, if I know I'm going to transition a stair run to be more plyometric and higher tendon load, then I'll schedule it in like that from the start. So what I might do is like Monday gym, Tuesday stairs, even though at the start it's not high tendon load because it's sort of quasi-isometric, but I know down the track I don't have to reschedule. And so, depending on the athlete,